The country of Burma, formerly known as Myanmar, has been at war since 1964. The conflict between the Burmese military and the Karen minority has resulted in Karen villages being completely wiped off the map during the war, scarcity in educational opportunities for children, and the deaths of tens of thousands of Karen. Additionally, this polarization and conflict has led to over 250,000 individuals and families forced to flee their residence into neighboring refugee camps in Thailand. The persecution of Karen has led to the grant of refugee status for many individuals. This immigration status has resulted in the international placement of many Karen. We took a look at approximately 1,100 Karen in the Chapel Hill-Carborough area and their impact on our community.
In order to get to the center of the issue and the situation, our group decided to take initiative and go to the leaders of our community. We recorded interviews with the mayor of Chapel Hill and the mayor of Carborough to discuss the refugee situation and how our town helps the many refugees in the area.
As you know, there are a significant amount of refugees here, and so what do you think makes this Chapel Hill a favorable destination for those people?
I think because we are welcoming, we like that diversity, and it's interesting when you talk to other diverse parts of the population, they like the fact that they don't stand out so much, that there's so many different kinds of diversity here that you get to feel like you're a part of the community that accepts that and embraces it. So that part's really helpful.
I think there should be more policies implemented to help refugees, and if so, any specific ones?
So what we do at the town is we try to work with our different departments. We pull them together and work with interpreters and people who understand the culture. So we pull together our housing department, our public works department, our parks and rec, our police, and our transit, and we have discussions about how to interact with a different culture so that we're more able to be helpful instead of, you don't want anything to be confrontational, but you're able to provide more help and have a better outcome.
So, to what extent does your administration work with any organizations to assist refugee groups, so any nonprofit organizations or otherwise?
So again, we reach out to, there's 3 refugee organizations that bring refugees to our part of the world, and they're mostly located in Durham and Raleigh, and we keep connections. They let us know when families are coming. Then we have several refugee organizations here in our community that are nonprofits, and we stay connected with them, and they let us know what the needs are.
Are you at all concerned about increasing national prejudice against refugees?
It's scary. It's frightening.
Yeah.
It's frightening right now.
Especially with the new administration.
And then we struggle too because in North Carolina you're not allowed to declare yourself a sanctuary city.
Oh.
It's against the law here in our state. But we want to make sure people know that we want our residents to feel safe, that we don't profile, we don't ask immigration status, we don't ask refugees that, we don't ask status here. If you're stopped for traffic or some other countries, and it's not something that we go around doing.
We can see here how communities strive to implement internal policies to accommodate refugees. However, these internal desires and policies often come into conflict with state and national efforts to limit immigration. Mayor Himminger discussed that one primary focus when seeking to accommodate refugees is communication between the refugees and other citizens or authorities. Additionally, Mayor Himminger discussed the presence of nonprofits that assist refugees with housing and jobs. Mayor Himminger also described the efforts made to provide translators to families who might not speak English throughout their daily ventures. Despite sanctuary cities being illegal in North Carolina, Mayor Himminger emphasizes that our community tries to be as open as it can by promoting diversity.
What policies are in place to help these refugees, and what other policies do you see coming into effect in the near future?
But in particular, I think that often refugees kind of get thrown in this basket of people who shouldn't be here and we ought to get rid of them. So one thing we do as a town is try to make them understand, or try to have people who we communicate with communicate to people who live in our town that we're excited to have them here. we're an inclusive community. They add to our community. If they need services, we want to put them in touch with services. Another thing we try to do is have, we like to pass resolutions a lot, and that's kind of a way that a town can express how it feels about policy. And so, for example, we've passed numerous resolutions over the years in support of our immigrant and refugee community, but I pulled out just one. The title of it was A Resolution Supporting and Welcoming Unaccompanied Immigrant Minors Fleeing Violence in Their Home Countries. So we want to do what we can to try to make anyone in our community feel safe, and feel welcome. As for your question, are we doing enough? You know, we don't have enough resources or manpower to do what we need to do for everyone. It's one of the saddest things I've ever seen, though, I'll say, to stand in front of, for example, at a recent meeting with a lot of folks in our Latino community, to stand in front of like 400 or 500 people that are worried and upset because they're afraid that someone's going to knock on their door and yank apart their family and ship them back to wherever they came from. And so families are living in fear right now, whether they're documented or undocumented, whether they're here through the proper refugee channels or not. And it's really disheartening, and it's very, I feel very, very sad for a lot of the folks that have to live their lives in fear like that, because this isn't their issue. This is a national issue. It's a national issue that our federal government has got to figure out a way to deal with everyone in our country who's here right now, and to allow people to come out of the shadows and live their lives openly.
Mayor Lavelle weighed in on the large Karen population in Carrboro and our current efforts working towards having an open, accepting community. Lavelle explained the importance of organizations that help acclimate refugees into a new country, where they are sometimes unfamiliar with daily procedures. For instance, Orange County has created a website to provide health services for all clients that request service, regardless of immigration status. She was enthusiastic about supporting refugees in our community, but concerned about the national perception of refugees. Lavelle's concerns involved the new administration not accepting refugees, and the effects that this could have on the United States and Carrboro.
Due to the growing presence of refugees throughout America, nonprofit organizations have been established with the goal to promote self-sufficiency of refugees. The organizations seek to aid refugees in their transition to the States, focusing on the daily aspects of life such as translation, learning English, and healthcare, among many other things. Additionally, the support centers aid in legal issues such as immigration and refugee rights within the community. We took a look at the Refugee Support Center in Carrboro, North Carolina. This organization has been influential in assisting refugees during the transition to daily life within the Chapel Hill-Carrboro community. The Refugee Support Center, in collaboration with many other organizations, creates an accommodating and supportive environment for refugees to make the cultural transition to American life.